and that is how I peak my clients. I use something called progressive linear loading of carbohydrates.
By myself.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com, and well, I'm in Hawaii. Came here for Lane Norton's wedding, and we decided to stay. My best friend lives in Kona on the Big Island, so we went to the wedding, then came here for a couple days. But you know what? I missed you guys. I wanted to do a video. It's Monday. The time change here is quite different. It's 6 hours earlier than where I'm from, so apologize for the shaky video. I'm doing this all by hand, but the video question came from my Instagram and it was a good one, so I'll put it on the screen here. And mostly I want to discuss this because this is something I'm dealing with a lot right now, and that is how I peak my clients. I use something called progressive linear loading of carbohydrates, which basically for a Saturday show means I start walking the carbohydrates up on Monday. Yeah, so how do we do that? Well, I base a lot of that information on how things have gone during prep. I'm looking at how people respond to their high days, their refeed days, their diet breaks. And I've really learned by that time what a good amount of carbohydrates is. So what I'm looking for feedback-wise is something I called fullness or hardness, meaning how full and hard the muscle bellies are, and then spilling. So with spilling, what that means is when you overdo it on carbohydrates, you'll get a little bit of spillage into the interstitial layer. Also, if you have any remaining fat cells, they will kind of retain some fluid. And what will end up happening then is you'll look a little bit softer. Now, this is not something I can kind of put into pictures for you guys. It's really something that has to be seen visually in person. It comes with a lot of experience, both with myself competing and with coaching my competitors. The best way to understand it is take update pictures, but also be a little bit narcissistic in how you look at yourself on a daily basis. Okay, when you're in the gym, if you're full and hard, you'll see things like vascularity, striations. Your muscles will appear to be higher volume, as in they're pushing out against the skin while you'll train. You'll get nicer pumps. These are all things that we want to be happening as the show approaches. However, if you're not truly stage lean, as in really, really shredded, what can happen when you walk the carbohydrates up is you're also adding fluid to those fat cells. So for a progressive linear load of carbohydrates, you need to be absolutely shredded. This is my favorite look. A fully shredded athlete who is able to load carbs is going to have bigger muscle bellies on stage and really look like they have a lot more muscle than they might actually have if they weren't quite as lean. It's quite an illusion. Now, also depends on the show you're doing, the division you're doing, but you have to really understand the look that you're going for. If someone is a more muscular athlete, I might not have them load. I might just keep things stable. If someone is competing in, say, men's physique, bodybuilding, or figure, then I might be more aggressive with this because getting a pump for stage is going to be ultra, ultra important, okay? So the things to look for are the daily changes and how things are doing. The best way to do that is to put your suit on, put your posing trunks on, whatever it is you're gonna be wearing on stage, and look at yourself in the mirror daily, either in the morning or post-workout or both, and really just get a sense of when you look your best. Now, an example of how I would do a progressive load. Let's take an athlete, say a bikini competitor, since this question came from a female, and let's say their refeed days are 200 grams of carbs. Okay, so that's a pretty typical refeed day. And they notice that the scale is pretty stable after a refeed day, maybe even 2 in a row. Well, what I would plan for then is for them to take in around 200 grams of carbs, maybe slightly more, maybe 210, 220 on the Friday before the show. So I would begin walking carbohydrates up earlier in the week. We might start at 150, go to 160, go to 170, go to 180, then go to 200. Now, I do daily check-ins on this as well. I want to make sure the weight is stable. I want to make sure we're not really seeing any big fluctuations, okay? The reason we like to do this is because the metabolism is going to be adaptive. You're welcome for the view, by the way. I'm trying to find a good spot for you guys. Hopefully the wind isn't too bad. The metabolism is adaptive, right? So the problem with a front load approach that I've seen in the past, which I've used, is that you have this big increase of carbohydrates on a Monday, and then you've sped the metabolism up. And so what happens when you start lowering carbohydrates is the body begins to flatten out a bit, meaning you're burning through carbohydrates faster because you've got a better metabolism. Well, with a progressive load, you're actually walking the carbohydrates up each day. So this kind of accounts for that metabolic improvement, giving us the best look every day. And if the weight starts to drop, we can be more aggressive with carbohydrates. If the weight goes up, we can reduce them. So this is a very hands-on approach. I do daily check-ins during peak week, and sometimes twice a day. I want to know how people look when they wake up. I also want to know how they look when they're training. So this has been, for me, by far and away the best approach to peaking, and I hope this answers your question. I hope you guys appreciate the scenery here in Kona, and I'll get another video out tomorrow, my last day in Hawaii. Thanks guys, talk to you tomorrow.